Peace, family. The other day, Republican candidate for president of the United States, Nikki Haley, put a foot in her mouth talking about the Civil War. Then she spent the next few days trying to backtrack and justify her response, her lack of knowledge on the situation. She said that of course the Civil War was about slavery, but you didn't say that in your initial response. And if you say the Civil War was all about slavery, then I would say for you to prove it. Prove it to me. What is it that after the Civil War was fought, what happened immediately after that that made the actions and legislation that legalized and justified slavery? What happened after the Civil War that now abolished that? That now and you had an opposing legislation that would make it illegal for slavery to continue. If the Civil War was truly about slavery. The fact of the matter, it wasn't. When the Civil War was fought and won in 1775, it was 1776 when this country was forged. Its Constitution was established and certified. You didn't mention not one word of the atrocities that led to this event. You didn't say not one word about the Africans who you had enslaved for almost 300 years. No protests, no anything. The Africans that was enslaved in 1776, they didn't get their first taste of freedom until 1865, almost 90 years later. With, like I say, with no opposing legislation, no opposing force. If the Civil War was about ending of slavery, you didn't even have the people who fought for this war free the slaves. Now, that's sickening. If I had a person that was suffering from drugs, alcohol addiction, and I pulled them out of there, I would introduce them to a new way of life, opposite of the life they experienced while addicted. I would not come out there, release them, and send them right back hanging out with their old drunk or drug addicted friends. But this is exactly what they did in 1865. When you released these slaves from their bondage, you offered them no home, no refuge. You sent them right back to the same businesses, the same industries, the same institutions of the enslaver. And do you think because a law was passed with no opposing legislation that made slavery legal, that now made it illegal, that these people can find refuge in these institutions? In the schools, in the hospitals, the politics, the businesses, the industries, were all filled to capacity, serving the needs and interests of white people. What did you send these newly freed slaves for? All these services that's required to gain success into the same system that enslaved them for almost 300 years. If the Civil War was truly about slavery, why wasn't it new businesses, new industries, new institutions, new schools, new laws, new legislation, specifically for the enslaved? Why wasn't these established so they would have a place to go and learn and repair and heal themselves? How come programs wasn't set up to cleanse them, to correct all the wrongs that was done to them for the last 300 years? You just opened up the gate, let these people out, and gave them no other alternative but to go right back into the arms of their oppressor. So don't sit up here, Nikki Haley, Larry Elders, any Republican, any Democrat that tell me that the Civil War was about slavery, when nothing that happened after that abolished or weakened the grip of our enslavers. Nothing. We have no private institutions, businesses, industries to preserve and protect our way of life. All these sanctuaries have to be found in the establishments that was here during our enslavement. It was true in 1865, and it's still true in 2023. You still see the same. Black people today are in the same economic and political position as we were in 1865. And I know, like, oh, that's impossible. There was no black millionaires in 1700 to 16. Listen, I don't care if you had 1,000 LeBron James and 1,000 Oprahs. The situation for black people is the same. We have no independent means to sustain our existence. They can be fired and denied. You see Bill Cosby, you seen Prince, you seen Michael Jackson humiliated. You see Kanye West targeted. So if they can do these to millionaires and billionaires, what do you think they can do to just average citizens? If black people had their own businesses, industries, and institutions, and no longer needed to be employed or educated by whites, then there would be no systemic racism, because we would have a place to go. We would have some place that we don't have to go rely on our oppressor. So it don't matter if it's 300 years past slavery, 1,000 years past slavery, as long as our essential needs and services are provided by our oppressor, we are going to always be enslaved. And I don't care about how you may feel. I don't feel that nobody has control over. It ain't about your feelings. It's facts over feelings. Whose banks do you put your money in? Who's educating your children? When you're sending them to schools, when they rather give you a $20,000 student loan but won't give you $100,000 to start a business, and you think that black people are not enslaved? Where's our independence from? Freedom is the ability to live your life as you choose. Your independence is what supports your freedoms. Your independence is the businesses, the industries, the institutions that support your freedom. You can have all the freedom you want, but the businesses and industries and institutions that provide the same ones that your oppressor used, you are still a slave. These Democrats, these Republicans are never going to tell you the whole truth about it. That's because so I am. I'm going to tell you. Until we establish our own means to sustain our own existence, where we can make our own laws based on our own ideology, we are going to always be slaves. And we don't have to fight a war to obtain it. All we got to do is come together as a people and just look at this situation rationally. Do you think white people are going to enslave black people for almost 300 years and then just let them go and never need them again? You see now, they have torn down every community that blacks have built for themselves. When they was not trying to force themselves into their schools, into their hospitals, into their jobs. We have created our own. And they still tearing them down. And blacks today still live with this 500-year fear of doing for ourselves, because it is inherent in us to have this fear that if whatever we do for ourselves, the whites are going to come and tear it down. So if the Civil War was about the freedom of black people, then just answer this. Where is our independent means to sustain our own existence?